Okay, in theory, we are go. Monitoring. Monitoring. Magic! We're there, we're live!
Huzzah!
Hello, and welcome after a few months away. I think it's been 2 months, maybe? I think two
Something
months.
like that. I've
Yeah.
added one to the party, so I have no clue what time is anymore. I genuinely don't know.
Let's go with 2 months and be corrected if we're wrong, eh? Well, thank you for joining us for this end of August ID update, which is mildly terrifying to say. I've got to be honest. End of August, that was. Things do look a little bit different on screen today. We are trying out a totally new, totally different piece of streaming software. We've moved over to vMix, so hopefully everything will go according to plan. But when it doesn't, be sure to tell us. So if there's any issues with audio or the video quality, drop it in the comments. But if not, let's get on with business. Let's roll that intro. There's only one place for the breaking news in the world of instructional design. The ID Update with Tom and Joe. All the news you never knew you never needed. Only on IDT. And we're back. Awesome. So it's been a while. Let's kick things off with the conversations everyone really cares about. Joey, what have you been up to?
Huzzah! There you go. Brought it. Show and tell.
Excellent.
That would be, for those who don't know, that is my daughter. That is Elizabeth Azalea, or Buffy, as we call her.
Fantastic.
So it is definitely named after Vampire Slayer. She had a job popping out. Unfortunately, that still makes one of us. But
fair enough.
Whatever. Other than that, I've just been kind of that and hanging. And lately, I've been testing the limits of Camtasia quite a bit.
Stuff. Well, we'll be sure to discuss that in today's episode.
For sure.
Hey, thanks for joining us, Andreas. Nice to have you in the audience. Welcome back. Yeah, for me, August, July and August. July and August has been events, lots of webinars. Yeah, lots of meetings, lots of everything. But yeah, no, a good couple of months, I have to say. We're kind of going into heavier event season now, so of course that'll ramp up. But before we get, I guess, into any L&D topics, what are you drinking today, Joey?
So, I'm just doing one this time. Usually I do two, but I'm just doing one because this isn't my last adventure with the old Elkie. Because after this, I'm taking her up to my wife's office so everybody can meet the baby.
Oh.
So with that, go to my old friends, Dry Dock. These guys are tried and true. I've had them plenty. They're in your land of like just good drinking beer, where you could just get a 12-pack and get through it very easily in like a day or two. This is the hazy IPA from Dry Dock. Nothing crazy, nothing insane. Not trying to do anything wild. However, it is a good brand for anybody who's trying to get their friends into beer. Their Apricot Blonde is like baby's first craft beer. Isn't that right? She knows. That's why she's asleep.
There we.
I'm kidding. No, that is not why she's asleep.
Stand down,
That's
internet. It was a joke.
It's the internet. Oh, yeah, guys. It was just a joke. I'm not giving my daughter beer. I'm giving her whiskey, like a cultured human.
Excellent. Well done. That's what we like to hear.
No, I've been having to listen to the same baby sensory videos and music for the last God knows how long. This is now my internal soundtrack. This is now my alarm. So I'm going to have my fun at her expense while she doesn't understand it.
Because later, she's going to do exactly the same back to you.
Yeah.
Oh, dear. Well, I'm going for a bottle of King Goblin from Witchwood, which remains one of my favourite beers, with the exception of their horrible new logos. They lack the character of the old ones. I very much enjoyed the old branding, but
It's just
the
nice to see
beer's
the
the
beer
same.
again. Usually you're bringing the cocktails out. You've been bringing a lot of the cocktails lately.
Yeah, absolutely. It's still quite a lot of work to do at this point, so that seems like a brave move. We'll stick to a beer for tonight. So cool. As we said before, new technology. So let us know, those who are here, if you do see anything weird or you can't hear us or anything odd happens. But without further ado, let's start. Let's just start jumping into some of our topics, because we kind of lined up a few for this particular episode.
I like this. I like this first topic. If assuming it's Zoom and Loom,
Yes.
if that's what you want to play with. I love this. So all right, I'll be real honest. I don't necessarily. I have not had a lot of experience with Loom, and if you want to know why, it's nothing against Loom and everything against not having a job for the last 6 months. Just haven't had a reason to play with it. But I have to appreciate that this is a topic of conversation, because if you guys know me, you know I'm a marketing guy. And I've got a lot of experience in SaaS technologies, and I follow a lot of marketing stuff, and I'm specifically a fan of product marketing things, which we're going to talk about when we get to Captivate. But I love that this is a glorious lesson of pay attention to history, learn from history, because this moving away from Zoom stuff and this what really is Zoom really as far as we can go, and let's explore other technologies, is the same exact thing that happened to Skype when Zoom got popular during COVID. Because that's what happened. Everyone, Skype just sat there and was like, everybody needs video conferencing, and Zoom was like, how about video conferencing with 2 features? And now we're past COVID, and everyone's like, how about more than 2 features, everybody? So the conversation's going off of Zoom. I have to giggle that this is the same thing that happened to Skype.
It is, but Zoom appear to be not letting it happen, which is the interesting thing. So Loom became very popular a few years ago now, really. Even pre-COVID, it was already building this ability to very quickly record videos with you in the corner and do this and do that, blah, blah, blah. Well, Zoom has literally just copied the feature. Because you're right. As people have kind of come back to workplace, blah blah, Zoom is no longer enough. Yes, technically you can record videos in Zoom and blah blah, but it's not designed for it. Well, now it is.
Meanwhile, I'm just and I know you're going to appreciate this. I'm just I'm looking at hey, I know it's open source, but OBS, you could have really taken this thing and run with it. You really could have done some work.
Yeah, I think
that's me being greedy.
Yeah, I think OBS is one of those funny things where, because it's open source, it knows that most big businesses will never use it because they're terrified of open source software, for no good reason. It should be pointed out.
Whatever.
But hey, yeah, it's
there was a time where a lot of them got on Firefox so they can shut up and use Flash. Well, no, Flash was open source, but.
Well, anyway. Even Firefox is kind of it's sort of open source, but kind of not, and I forget what the term technically is, but
7,000 by now.
Well, exactly.
They become a bit of a laughing stock of themselves.
But yeah, and the one thing I was pleased to see with this was the fact that, as you say, Zoom is not going the way of Skype. It is actually keeping an eye on the horizon and saying, hey, this Loom thing, people are really using it quite a lot. Why don't we just make that a feature of what we're doing? I think I forget what they've called it, but basically it's a way to allow you to create asynchronous experiences. Record the video, share it, but then most importantly, not just create a video, but create a video and directly share it using Zoom with people. So you haven't then got to put it somewhere like a Microsoft Stream account or a Vimeo or anything like that. You send them a Zoom link, they click it, they just watch the video that you recorded. That is genuinely useful.
Yes, I'm trying to find. I'm trying to find their anything. Where in the world?
I'm sure I've probably still got the original article.
I feel like the Learning Center was a bad way to go. That was a bad place to look. Oh, whatever. We're just looking for a name.
Yeah, no, can't find it. That's fine. But yeah, basically it's asynchronous Zoom stuff. Really good to see. Again, it's nice to see a tool moving on beyond its basic functionality. I've complained a lot. Hey Judy, nice to have you with us. I've complained
Hi,
a lot
Judy.
that we've got a lot of tools that stand still, and we still do. But for Zoom to get its act together, Zoom that is not, let's be honest, an exciting technology company. They
No.
they are the bog standard option. If you don't have Microsoft Teams, you probably have Zoom, right? That's the way it goes. And then some cloud-based sort of ecosystem businesses will use Google Meet. Those are your three. None of them are exciting options. So for Zoom to actually be thinking about how do we support, specifically in the thing that I read, how do we support like asynchronous learning and knowledge sharing? This is how. Acknowledging the fact that a lot of people who have bought Loom accounts, small businesses especially, don't have an LMS to put video content on. They don't want to put it on YouTube because it's internally facing. So what options have they got? It's all a bit limiting. Now they can just share a Zoom link and it's all hosted through Zoom. That to me, great additional feature, and one that I hope people make use of.
Meanwhile, I still really just miss Cisco WebEx. I I love I've gotten so much use out of the annotation features that I'm amazed that nobody has tried to take those over. I am amazed that nobody has capitalized on the absolute brilliance that is annotations. That thing
Yeah,
solved so many problems for me in virtual trainings because then people can have fun and they can answer questions anonymously, which they were a lot more comfortable to do. I was that cheeky little jerk that put in questions at the end that were designed to let me know whether or not people could still pay attention or how like loopy they were. So they were like draw a thing, and it would, if I started seeing like smiley faces and hearts in random places, I'm like, okay, you guys need a break.
yeah. I
You
think
could do
that
so many little psychology tricks with the annotations. I'm sad nobody picked up on those. It makes me sad.
I think the thing is that to do them well is quite kind of server intensive to have all that stuff there compared to just a video call. And because of that, my God, WebEx was expensive.
That's
Like in
true.
comparison
That's
to a
true.
Zoom license or what is it? Google Meet's free. Teams has a free tier, or it's just bundled in with the ecosystem you're probably buying anyway for your other Windows stuff. And
Hmm.
so I always felt WebEx kind of shot itself in the foot by pricing itself where it did. Um,
I don't agree with that. But it was still
it's
good tech, dang it.
it
And it was
fan
that was a
yeah.
decade ago. It was a decade ago.
This is it. Fantastic tech. Absolute, like by far the best software for running a webinar or a virtual training session. Um,
Hmm.
but it's that classic example of you've got to find your market fit, and market fit says you can only charge X amount in this space. And when everyone else is free or very low cost, coming in with your kind of grand plus subscription fee is going to be very hard to sell to that audience. But
Yeah.
hey, um, so that was Zoom take on Loom. Exciting to see what happens. I'm interested to see how many Loom users actually use this feature. Because a lot of people I know who use Loom don't even have a paid account, they just use the free account version. And so it'll be interesting to see what impact it has on that.
I mean, at the end of the day, I almost wouldn't mind not having at least L&D really go crazy using the I'm going to give you a talking head for 45 minutes, put myself in the bottom corner, and that's a training course.
Yeah,
Lord knows I've been fighting against that for a while. But that said,
this is
sometimes you
it.
don't have a choice.
Yeah, and
Sometimes you just got to do
sometimes
a product training.
sometimes a quick walkthrough video is the best way of doing something, or just getting a quick message out there, or whatever it might be. So and that's very much what Loom has focused on. Is it's not about these long videos. It is about when you just need to get a message out there. this is how you can do it. I
No,
think it
for
works
sure.
quite well.
I mean, Lord knows I've done my fair share of like boot camps, and I've done a couple of presentations. God, I did one a couple of weekends ago. That would have been great to have something different, because it really was a Zoom call, and Zoom's recording feed, the way Zoom normally records is a disaster.
Yeah.
It's rough. Here's a question I don't know with Loom regarding its screen recording. Do those come in two, like, is it two separate tracks, or is it just like it's one single recording flat on the screen? Like if I wanted to brand the back of it,
it's a flat recording.
I get that it's hell to not do that, but like, dang it.
Yeah, again, the thing is that it's sorry, go on.
No, I was gonna say it's like that creates potential for like branding issues. Like, if I wanted to make a series of videos and I wanted to like have a backdrop and whatnot, like it'd be nice to be able to just brand. Granted, it really depends on where they put it. Like if it's in the corner, then I could just make that part bigger and shrink everything down and kind of fake it. But that's me being picky, like real picky.
And I think that's a prime example of that's just not what the tool's designed for. Like if you want video production software, you should use video production software. And funnily enough, this is something I was going to talk about later on when we talk about Captivate, but we can sort of set it up now, is that I do feel like there is a growing expectation for software to do stuff that is not what that software is for. Because this is kind of where a lot of these tools, or why a lot of these tools don't have a place in my toolkit. Because everyone loves Loom, and I've used it twice and kind of just went, that's really unimpressive. But you kind of have to remember that that tool is therefore probably not for me or for my situation. And yeah, it's not. It's designed for someone that literally wants to click an extension in the corner of their browser, record something with them in the corner, and then hit send to X people. That's what it does. That's what it's designed to do. It's designed for when that flipping person asks you that same question about how to navigate one part of the LMS for like the 6th time. You record them a little Loom video, you send it to them, and then say, please refer back to this video in future so you don't have to keep coming to me to save you time. Yes, totally about saving them time.
It's a nice expansion on per my last email. Per the last video that I recorded for you.
Yeah, exactly. This is it. Like if you want video production, then if you're talking about especially like branding backgrounds and that kind of thing, then yeah, you totally need something with a bit more oomph behind it. Not a huge amount, but not Loom, or in this case Zoom. But yeah, I think that's sometimes the way it goes.
Because I guess you're right. If you're doing it live, then you're using something like this. Or an actual broadcasting software that you can set up the channels however you want. Yes. And then after you're doing video production, you're recording them separately and then putting them into whatever composer or editor you're using. So that makes sense.
Yeah, this is it. It's again about those reasonable expectations, right? But you
bet your ass there's a whole bunch of companies out there. Like, how familiar are you with Loom? Because we use those for all of our learning and documentation. Like,
yeah, and to be honest, I don't have an issue with that. Because in most companies, who gives a shit what your branding is? I work here. I just want to know how to do my job. Like, with the best will in the world. I used to... It's funny because that's so anti where I was like 5-6 years ago, where I was like, no, we should mirror the external brand within our internal learning offering. And then you speak to actual users and they're like, we do not give a flying fuck what it looks like. We want to get back to our jobs. You are getting in the way.
I feel like you and I can have a whole fun fight on that one. Not that I'm like, it must be branded, oh my gosh, external, because no training should ever be branded external, like too external. Never make yourself at the mercy of what your company looks like, because they're going to change themselves constantly. Be inspired by. The issue that I had, and the reason that I'm a fan of branding, is because, especially working in SaaS where there's so many silos, when you start having a bunch of people create training and it all clusters together, it's really hard to consider something a source of truth when everything just looks off the wall and insane. And if anything, it just created for me enough confidence in the thing that we were putting out to be able to show, like, yes, this is something that the training team actually either curated or had as a part of this. It's not Bob who made a thing, which I'm sure is valuable, but
Yeah.
that's what
Yeah.
that's like the main reason I cared. On top of working for so many damn companies that got bought, and shareholders do not want to see Bob's crappy PowerPoint. They want to see nice, pretty things. But that has nothing to do with L&D and everything to do with acquisitions and my bad luck.
This is it, and I feel like as well, like for me, it's far. For me anyway, it's far easier to say no. That shit doesn't go on the LMS. Like, why would some randomers content be put onto the platform? That is a much easier argument to make than we should expend the resources to brand internal stuff that we could make in minutes, but instead now is going to take an hour. It's all about balance, right? Like, if you were doing like a real nice show reel video about the launch of your new LMS platform, you might want to do it. Or if it's part of an onboarding program where you're talking about visions and values, you want your branding really heavily represented there. If it's video 34 in your pile of videos addressing common system navigational issues, no one needs to see the fricking company logo or special, but they just want you to tell them the flipping information. Same. True. It's a bit like little intro stingers in YouTube videos. They destroy watch time. This really surprised me because people have these cool little intros and stuff, and you just watch time fall off a cliff whenever you put one in a video. It's like,
like the 30-second splash videos and stuff. Like, just this is why I like cold opens.
Yeah,
this is why cold opens are great for me.
Just get into your content.
1 minute in.
This is it.
And then a 10-second flash.
There you go. Cool. Well, let's move on from topic one, Zoom take on Loom, and instead let's move on to the march of AI tools continues. So this AI thing, I don't think it's a fad. It might be here to stay.
I had to create art for the first time yesterday. That was a journey. I'm doing it for a game, so. But that was a journey. That was an adventure. So as the nerd that I am, I'm doing a guess the card art. But the game is, I tried to have AI recreate artwork from this game. Can you guess the card I was trying to make based off of the artwork that I got in response?
That's cool.
And then as part of I slowly trickle in what the prompt is, like in nice. Letters. So eventually you'll see what I tried to prompt it. It's actually really fun, but that's the thing. And there's a lot of weird pricey crap when it comes to the AI stuff. I've learned everything is done in credits. And I can buy X number of credits. And the problem is we're going to create 4 different versions of you, and they're all going to cost you 1, and none of them are going to be great. I hate you. Well, I'm not a fan of you.
I mean, the thing is, I think we are going to have to get to grips with the fact that this is not going to be free. AI is going to be one of the most expensive tool sets that we have. And actually, I don't have an issue with that.
I don't either. Now, courtesy of the last time we chatted about it, I was like, I'll shut up. I'm actually converted.
Yeah, I think this thing, I think other people can have other opinions, but why should it be free? I guess would be I would be more concerned if it was free, because if it was free, I would need to know where the money was coming from. And then I'd be scared.
Well, I think I think what's going to make it really interesting, and I don't know if you might know this, but I don't know if this got really across the pond. Just last week, there was a trial. There was a court case regarding the ability to copyright AI-generated artwork, of which a federal court said no, AI-generated artwork cannot be copyrighted, and that'll be a fun one.
Yeah, that'll be fun. And I think there's going to be a lot of this. Over the coming years, it's going to be court case after court case after court case. And I'm not I don't know which way it will go, but I think they will, in my view, struggle to like. I can see why they landed there in our current situation, but I
Yeah,
think it will change over time. Because I think it will become. My view is that it will and possibly should become copyrightable. Um, because there's still.
the technology needs to be better for that to be worth it. I feel.
Yeah. I guess the thing is, and because here's where those kind of questions to me get. I guess at the minute we're looking specifically at artwork in that case. And I think
Mhm,
artwork has a strong case at the minute to go, yeah, that's probably okay.
mhm,
What interests me is, so I'm writing a book. I use
mhm.
AI to generate a few bits of it, restructure sentences, word it in the way I want it. Is that now my work from a copyright perspective?
You're going to get into the same conversations that people have about music sampling.
Exactly, it's exactly the same thing. Because initially, music sampling, bad, terrible, will destroy the music industry. Da, 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 da. Oh no, wait, it's fine, it's great, it promotes music and blah 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 blah.
It really depends on what those songs. There's been some crap, but
Oh, of course, yeah.
but
There will
anyway,
always be someone waiting to abuse whatever system gets put in place, right? But
yeah.
generally speaking, everything is initially heralded as the death of an art form. Then
Mm,
people kind of get off their high horses and accept that change is gonna happen, so get the hell over it. And
mm.
then a few years later, it's, oh, actually, this is just one more tool that we can use to create stuff. And it's awesome. And those who are criticizing it are suddenly using it. Um,
Yeah,
to
I mean,
think back to the
this
point
is gonna be one of
before.
those where
Go
it's
on.
gonna be forever a loophole hell. It's
Yeah,
gonna be forever in loophole hell.
of
Hey
course.
AI, can you generate the Mona Lisa? Okay. Now who has it? Now what do I get to use it for? Can you generate Catcher in the Rye? Well, it's an AI, an AI generated thing, and I've got a digital footprint thing that can prove it. Now what? That's where I think the conversation is going to get real fun and a little bit dicey. Right now, I'm happier with proactive efforts that are being done, like Adobe Firefly just
Hmm.
launched. It's basically it's Adobe's AI artwork. It's real bad. It's bad. It's in beta though, so I'll give them credit where credit's due. But
Definitely.
anytime you download or publish, they have a little thing that's very clear. This was computer generated.
Hmm.
Um, I like that right now. I like that right now. I like that right now because no matter what you feel about AI, it does, especially in the art space and the creative space. It doesn't change the fact that it is difficult to distinguish what was done by human, what was AI generated. It's difficult to distinguish whether or not somebody who's trying to sell you something is saying they're doing that from their own creative abilities or whether or not it's machine generated. Whether or not you feel that's bad or good doesn't mean squat to me. It does change. I am selling you this work, be that a part of a bigger thing, or I'm selling you an art print of a thing that I made from my AI. And I don't necessarily have to be specific on whether or not machines did that. I don't like that right now. I don't like that lack of
It's
transparency.
interesting. So, okay. So I sell you a piece of artwork that I
You sell
say
me a
I
piece of
painted.
artwork.
Yep. I say I painted this and it's, I don't know, 100 quid. And you love the painting, so you buy it, right? Does it matter if in fact my wife painted it?
Absolutely.
Interesting. So why, I guess, would be my question.
You sell me a hand. If you sell me a hand drawn painting or hand painted painting, what the
Yep.
heck is wrong with me? I needed Chat GPT. That was a Chat GPT version of that. Um, you sell me a hand painted piece for $100.
Hmm.
If you're saying that you painted it, the price matters on whether or not I am tying the price to whether or not it was hand painted or whether or not it's your name that's on it. If
So,
I want a
so
Tom McDowell hand painted thing, then I am putting some of that value in Tom McDowell's work. And then you tell me that your wife painted it. That's not a problem of the artwork anymore. That's a problem of it's not your work, and I bought your work specifically. That's what I'm paying for.
I guess I
If I
guess
just
in
if I
fairness,
just
if
wanted
you're
a hand
buying for the name on it, yeah, I
if I'm
guess.
buying for the name on it, but if I'm buying a hand painted thing, it's like, oh wow, that hand painted thing looks great, and I'm setting a value at $100. Yeah, I'm buying a hand painted thing for $100 because I wanted a hand painted thing for $100.
I guess that's it. Maybe as long as it's not as long as you don't specifically say that you're not using AI, does it matter? If the end
Yes,
thing gives you the value that you wanted from it, what does it matter?
coming from somebody who does collectibles and sees value in the nerdery of things, it has a lot of value. You're essentially saying you're essentially having the NFT conversation without the nonsense that was NFTs, without the idea of a 101, without the idea of something like that was serialized and stuff like that. Because you can assign value to, I created a thing, I commissioned a piece
Mm-hmm.
just for you. Oh, we'll do this one because I've got to do this for the coaxing. I want to commission a piece. I've got to commission a piece, and I want to have a. Actually, I'm going to take the artist out. I go to somebody and say, I want to commission a piece. I want a custom made thing. I've got specific requirements for it. And I get something back from whoever I hire, and they say, all right, this is the time I put into it. It's going to cost you $1,000. But they tell me they sketched it and all that crap.
Okay, right. So if they lie to you, is what we're saying, there's an issue.
And that's where I'm concerned, is that it's difficult to tell the difference between the two.
Well, first of all, I guess it's important to understand that everyone lies to you all the time anyway. Not you specifically, I just mean everyone. Everyone goes, oh yes, I totally worked exactly 40 hours this week.
Yeah, that's the difference between 30 and 25 versus I spent 3 months on something versus I typed in a prompt and maybe spent a couple of hours tweaking it.
So why do we think people's time is the right metric to be paying them by? Surely we should pay people for the value they generate for us.
They didn't generate value. A machine generated
Yes, they
value.
did. Did you write that prompt? The fact that they can use better tools than you, or different tools to you, that's like saying, the mechanic is not capable of anything that I can't do. He just has better tools than me. Therefore, I shouldn't pay him.
Then the prompt doesn't mean shit. It's all about access. I'll do it myself.
It always has been, though. Like, pretty much every, other than sort of everything we do is about access, ultimately. Access to a certain type of education, a certain type of place to work, certain equipment. It's the same as pretty much anything. I think it's a slippery slope to go down saying we shouldn't pay people as much who use AI because their job's quicker. It's like, that's like saying, let's put it into our industry. So I can build a good piece of e-learning pretty quickly, be it as long as it's in a tool that I have, Storyline, let's say.
Mm-hmm.
Someone else could build the same bit of e-learning, but it takes them 3 times as long. Should they get paid 3 times more than me?
No.
Right. So time isn't what we're paying people for then. It's the thing that we're getting.
True. I'll give you that. Time is...
we've got to make sure... Because I get what you mean, though. It feels like that person has almost cheated, right? By just writing a prompt, getting the artwork and delivering it. But if that bit of artwork delivers what we need it to, then they have delivered exactly what we would expect from an artist painting on canvas. Now, has the artist painting on canvas spent more money on materials and spent more time? Yes. But does that inherently make their work more valuable in a commercial situation? Because I understand from an artistic perspective, value can be placed for different reasons. Totally get that.
Then it's a matter of paying by the project and saying, screw time. But if that's the case, then all of this stuff needs to get a heck of a lot cheaper. Just straight up. Hiring somebody to go through the sketching process that I know is going to take them 20 to 30 hours because there's sketching and updates, tweaking, and the actual literal work of doing stuff versus, hey, somebody can do exactly what I want. I'm going to do exactly what I want, and you can do it maybe in about 3. those should not be valued the same. They shouldn't be side by side, because I am asking for 30 hours of somebody's time versus I'm asking for some access. But you get all of that. You get 27 hours of time back. Cool. If I know that there's an efficient tool that's able to do it for you, I want things cheaper. And I should be able to get them. I should not have to spend $1,000 for an AI generated piece of artwork that does exactly what I want versus having it commissioned by an artist who would spend 30. I already know your counter to it, which is at that point I'm buying the name.
Yeah, and this is it. I think that's just it's that idea of where different. I think that's going to be the complicated thing, right? It's where people place value. Like, because, like, for instance, when I and I guess this is where the challenge is going to be. When it comes to physical artwork, there's no choice. Like, an AI can't do it. It's as simple as that. It can't pick up a paintbrush and it can't paint yet. When it can, like the artwork you pick up for cheap in department stores is going to be great. But until then, not going to be a thing. But yeah, I guess it's going to depend a lot on what's important to you. I think in art-specific areas, maybe people are more likely to agree with someone like yourself. But in most commercial sectors, businesses may pretend to care about this stuff, but they don't. They're gonna want. Can you get it to me sooner? Yes, cool. That's actually worth more to me than you taking 30 hours to do it.
That's awesome. So at that point, we can now comfortably say that whole entry level with 3 years of experience, it can actually go away, because I could fake having 3 years of experience by instead getting access to a tool that's been doing it for 5 years. I was like, hey, I learned how to use it as an entry level. Yeah, it's cute, but it's gonna kill tenure.
Yeah, I think, and this is the problem. Sorry, go on.
No, that was it. I was
going to say, and this is the problem with tenure as a measure of competence anyway. The two are not connected. Like, there are people who have been doing what they do for a decade and suck. There are people who started last week that are amazing. It's, it's one of those sad realities. Like, I know there are some things you learn with experience, but actually, I don't find them as useful as passion and energy, and just a basic level of ability will get you a long way.
At the end of the day, no matter what, the entire world just needs to go watch The Measure of a Man, the Star Trek episode about Data, and whether or not he's property or if we get to call him a staff member. Just watch that episode, and we'll go from there.
I feel like that particular episode is going to get referenced an awful lot in the coming decade with regard to our society.
Maybe. Probably not.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So a couple of comments. So Kara said that this is why I like to pay contractors for deliverables, not per hour. If you're good, you're usually more efficient. I agree. I think you shouldn't be punished for being better at your job. For freelancers who, Google have put a emoji thing right in the corner. I now can't read this comment.
For freelancers you charge by the hour, that would be cheating, though.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you're a freelancer that charges by the hour and you do crappy products, I'm always one who's like, I'm going to try to scope at the beginning and say, like, this is how much it's supposed to take, and this is essentially what I'm going to charge you for. Yeah. And if it takes longer, there's certain parts of that need to be on me. If it takes longer because of your changes, that's what change rounds are for.
Yeah. This is it. That's got to do with integrity. And the reality here, some people lack integrity now, and they will continue to lack integrity when AI comes in. Some people today work 25 hours and bill someone for 40. They're not going to stop doing that because of AI, but they're also not going to start doing it because of AI. And those who have integrity now will not magically lose it when they start using AI. It is interesting, and it's funny. These are all the same things as when every other little bit of time-saving technology has come in the past.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about even with the outsourcing thing, which is what kind of got me to rethink of like connected to outsourcing. I was like, it's really just getting rid of the mundane. At the end of the day, AI can't mimic a person's personality. Again, Measure of a Man. I know, shut up. But But that's why I take more pride in my personality. I at least have that. But
This is it. Linking
I don't
back
know.
to right at the start there, though, we were talking about cost. Recent estimate puts ChatGPT's daily running cost at $700,000.
700 what?
Seven, nope,
700,000
sorry,
dollars.
yeah, 700,000 US dollars a day, or 32
That's
cents
how
for
much it
each
costs to like
question.
run.
No,
Got
that's
it.
that's the running cost of ChatGPT.
Got it.
But 700,000 a day is a whole lot of money. Considering
Yeah.
that's the running cost, not the setup development cost.
Right.
And this is why it's kind of like the fact that there was someone recently complaining to me that they're scaling back the free services available on ChatGPT. It's like, yeah, at
Yeah, they
36
should.
cents a question, I bet they are. That's that's a heck of a. The fact that you can access it for free at all is pretty freaking impressive. Um,
Yeah.
you know,
Now let's
and
just see
by
if they don't do what every company does and actually getting once they get a little profitable and actually tries to better and improve things in decent ways.
this is it. And I've got to say, like thus far, since because I signed up for premium because I use it quite a bit, the
Yeah.
progress has been really good value.
That's
Like
fun.
GPT-4 is great. It's getting quicker. It's getting much better. The plugins additions have been outstanding. Like I'm using it to build a responsive web app now for a conference in November. So easy. Like I just told it, I wanna have my data in Airtable. I want to be able to do X, Y, and Z. Blah blah. What are my options for creating this? You can build it manually. You can do this. You can do that. It's like, can you walk me through step by step how to build it manually? Yeah, sure. You just do this, then do that. Okay, can you write that code for me? Yeah, sure. Kind of have to hold its hand and test and launch and back and forth and blah blah blah. But we're getting there with no other ability to build a responsive web app and without having to pay for a web app building platform.
Right.
It's. And I'm sure if I knew a bit more, I could make it do the job that I want it to do much quicker. Because at the minute, sometimes I'm asking it to do stuff that's the wrong thing to ask it to do. And I'm having to double back and change it. But still, like from previously, I can't do this job, or I have to buy an expensive no-code tool, to, oh yeah, it'll take me a few weeks of faffing around, but I'll get it sorted. But that's real value in my opinion, and that's because now they've got a whole bunch of plugins that specifically look at different types of code and coding like bases online that it can pull components from and stuff. It's really cool.
Let me ask you this. Because you've explored AI. You've explored AI a heck of a lot more than I have. But in this age of exploration of AI, it's naturally found its way into just about every industry where anybody can think of to make it fit.
Yeah.
Be it art, writing, learning and development, all those types of things. Is there an industry that AI is currently kind of functioning and playing around in where you feel like it should not be there? Like maybe there's elements of it, like maybe there's tasks that AI is being kind of, we'll quote, trusted with that maybe it shouldn't be. Or maybe like as this progresses, it's like this really should be something in the hands of people, and maybe it supplements as opposed to tries to replace.
I don't know, because right now I don't think it's in broad terms. I'm sure there's someone somewhere who's lost their job because they've been replaced by AI. But let's broadly speaking, AI is not replacing people.
Right. There's a couple of people like, oh, AI is writing books now. I'm like, nobody cares.
It's not putting other authors out of business. Like one thing writing one book doesn't mean someone else can't write another book. Like it's kind of it's a bit like the art thing. AI art will put artists out of business. Will it really? You're saying because the computer drew a picture, so now you can't draw one. Is that what you're saying? It's like,
I guess in a weird way.
not.
It's almost. I guess in a weird way, I can appreciate elements of it because it does weed out really the garbage stuff, because the artists, any creative that is worth a damn has a style, a recognizable style.
This is it.
And again, that goes back to paying for the name. That goes back to, am I paying for a piece distributed by Tom McDowell, or I'm a piece that is painted by Tom McDowell instead of Tom's wife.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah, I think there's again, I think there's that initial. Currently, we're in the phase of just generalized moral outrage because people don't because
point,
things are changing.
The dark truth, really, behind all of it is like, maybe you shouldn't have been doing this job in the first place if you can't actually compete, and it's a bitter pill to swallow.
Considering currently, let's look specifically at AI art for a moment. It still struggles to remember that people have 5 fingers, not like 12. If that can do your job better than you, you suck. Like, I'm sorry.
Yeah, and where to place hands? Where hands go?
This is it. Like, if genuinely you're concerned that it's going to replace you today, you deserve to be replaced. Now, will it replace, not art specifically anymore, just generally, will it replace some people in the future? I think so, yes. It'd be kind of daft to suggest otherwise, especially as robotics work continues. The kind of marriage of robotics and AI, I think, is going to be very interesting, because then AI can directly interact with the world around it. That's going to be a moment of sort of fairly significant reflection for us, I think, in terms of what our role is in the workplace. And that, I think, that will have a much larger general upset to the working world. But equally, that's not going to happen tomorrow. So the only real danger is that we fail to plan for it.
Yeah, I mean, I know the moral outrage right now, especially in my view, is as I'm subject to a lot of things where quality is subjective. It just that's kind of the issue. Like in the art world, quality is subjective. Wow, AI art did a really cool looking thing. Well, is it cool by your standards, or is it cool by anybody who's paying, actually like focus on the industry and stuff like that? So I appreciate elements like that. Like you were talking about last time, even that you've used it to. I think it was you who used it to like QA code. Holy crap, that's a great QAing. Does something work or not is not subjective. Having a tool that can do it by AI is pretty killer.
This is it. And a fantastic example I heard of recently, actually, in the healthcare space. They were using it to screen scans for cancer. Now, it wasn't replacing doctors, but what it was doing was speeding up the process and prioritising ones that needed a doctor to look at them like frickin' now, versus when you have time, you also need to review these. Fan-frickin-tastic.
Yeah, I've seen some like even the AI counting ones are like, these are cute and funny, but I could see some like proper value. I'm like, hey, AI counted there are this many products on this pallet.
Yeah, I don't see why are people counting boxes on a pallet? How does that make sense? That's not a good use of a human being's time.
Right.
Like, even if that person, I'm not saying people shouldn't work in warehouses, but let that person do something more productive.
Right.
Like, I don't know of one warehouse system that couldn't do with another person double checking and packing orders. So have one more person do that and let the robots count your stock. It's not as if the boxes run around. Like, they're just sat there. Just count them.
Robot micromanagers are a lot better than people micromanagers. They don't talk as much.
This is it. It's I know it's kind of easy to, and it's not just at that end either. I think in pretty much every workplace and at every level of job, there are jobs that are just not a good use of a human being's time. Whether that is booking appointments. You're a PA to an executive, let's say. That's not going to replace you, because they still need someone to, do the odd jobs that need doing and blah, blah, blah. But they're, again, super busy people. They're forever running around, desperate for more time of the day, working super late. Well, that's where AI tools can just make jobs so much easier.
Yeah,
so the AI hears you agree to a book to go, yes, we're going to book that into Michael's calendar at 6 p.m. on this date. The AI's already booked that for you, because you've just said you want it booked.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. Or once you end that call, the AI goes, I'm about to book this for you. Is that okay? Yeah, cool, that's done. You don't have to go into Outlook and, okay, it's maybe a minute, maybe 30 seconds if you're really freaking quick at typing it out and clicking, all that sort of stuff. But it's one less thing.
Yeah, that's 30 seconds assuming that you're by your computer. And in
This
a
is it.
space, yeah, all those
Knock onto
little,
that.
I need to get there.
Knock onto that. Corporate culture is renowned for causing tendinitis, carpal tunnel syndrome, all sorts of things. Cut down on the amount of typing we do as people. By AI is just going, yep,
I'm
don't
doing
worry
that
about typing out all that stuff. Done. These are the, I think we forget that this is what, hopefully, what those implementations are going to look like. They're going to be aids to make every job easier, as opposed to a replacement for people. And will that mean that overall less people are needed to fulfill a certain quota in some job scenarios? Yes, absolutely. That has, again, always been the case. We need much fewer charcoal burners now than we did 400 years ago, because we consume less charcoal as a nation. Easy. That's just how progress works. All this is more progress. I think the idea that it's going to have a disproportionate impact versus previous change is kind of daft. And we kind of have to hurry up and get over it.
That's blown out of proportion.
Yeah,
that's so blown out of proportion.
Every major change,
I have a friend who saw her first AI written book, and she's trying to write because those who can't do become writers. And she's like, "Oh, well, AI is taking this job." I'm like, "You did not have a job in this."
Yeah, and again, you know, it's one of those silly things where no one's buying AI written books really, and no author is going out of business because of AI writing books.
Yeah. No.
Anyway,
let's bring it back to the beginning of the conversation. When you get into the loopholes, I think is where it becomes very, very interesting, especially when it comes to ownership. When it becomes, I like what this person did, I want to do the exact thing they did in the exact same way and have it look the exact same. Who owns it? That's the stuff that is gonna suck. But that gets into anything that needs to be copywritten. And in the grand scheme of things, that is a small part of the conversation. But that's just my part of the conversation. And just as much as it's my part of the conversation, I also have to appreciate that that is not everything of AI. I cannot say AI is bad because I have come up with one use case where it's bad.
And even then, I wouldn't go so far as to say it's universally bad. But you know, it's but anyway, AI tools specifically. Then some cool AI tools I've been using recently. Figma have announced Jambot, which is all about. I'm not sure if anyone here also uses Figma. If not, try it out. It's a great sort of prototyping and design tool, but it also has a feature called Fig Jams, the idea being that you can get a group of people to come together on a call in Figma and play around on screen with designs and layouts and things like that. But it's also great for discovery calls, brainstorming, mind mapping, getting ideas down, that kind of thing. And that's where Jambot comes in. Jambot can, on the fly, help you expand on key points in a mind map, or note down what you're talking about and put it into like a brainstorming structure. Really cool little aid just to save you discussing something, agreeing stuff, then having to write it down. Instead, just let it listen along and type along as you go. Really, really cool tool they've announced there. So looking forward to making more use of that. I've also started using a new tool called Guide, Guidde, so much so that actually tomorrow there's going to be a video going live on it. Just a quick kind of 6-7 minute video. But it's all about, it's kind of one of those classic did this need to be in AI situations, but actually it adds just a few really cool little things. So it's a Chrome extension, you click it, you do a screen recording, you tell it it's done, it then loads up in the browser, and it automatically identifies everything that you clicked and puts little circles around it and arrows going to what you click, saying click here. But it also picks up on what the component was called on the screen, and so writes an instruction. So it's like, click the home button, click this, now click that. Nice. But beyond that, it then writes for itself a description of what the video is of. So in this video, we're going to learn how to do X, Y, and Z, and then turns all those singular instructions into a script, generates an AI voiceover, times it all to the video, and spits it out the end for you.
Wow.
It's like,
that's nutty.
This is, like, you know, it's everything you'd expect from a first-generation AI product. There are some things, but you can go in, like sometimes, I guess the trouble is you've got a component of a first generation AI product, and also some developers of websites are better than others. Some name their components correctly, and some still have them called Tickbox 13. It's
Yeah.
funny enough, same as storyline developers writing accessibility text. um, so you can run into those issues, but it easily
Until
allows
Skynet
you
just
in.
takes over, AI is always subject to human error.
This is it. But to get around that, it allows you to sit there and edit the whole thing. So if you want a completely different explanation, just type it in. If you want to change that bit of voiceover or that on-screen instruction, just type it in. If you want to
Yep.
change the background colors or anything like that, you can go in and change them, change the design, and then re-export. But it can let you export to like MP4 and GIF and all those other things. But it can
Mhm.
also, from the actual platform, share it to a whole range of other platforms like Vimeo and Wisteria and all that kind of thing, and also things like a lot of like source code based video sharers if you're sharing it into an app or something like that. So really
Right.
nice, but also you can just share a guide link to people because you can
That's
store,
cool.
depending on like how much you pay, you can store different numbers of videos and just share a link to people directly from that. So it's a really nice little tool actually.
I
There's like
like
a
that.
14-day free trial, and there's a free forever tier, but then it's like watermarked, limited to 25 videos, all the usual stuff.
Mhm.
um, and they limit your
Which is fine.
download and sharing options. But even paid, I want to say it's like £15 a month or something for like unlimited
That's-
everything. It's like, this is
Yeah.
pretty good.
And that's
Like,
good. And that's where something like that kind of should be
yeah,
for now.
like it's a sensible little option, and I'm sure a good alternative will come about. And would I use this probably as much as like a line manager or an SME would? No, probably not. But it's a cool little tool,
Mhm.
and it's a
For 15
genuine
bucks.
time saver of using AI. Like the fact that it's
Yeah.
put in all the little circles and the arrows, not difficult video editing, but it can be a faff to just insert, line up, resize, time them right, all this kind of thing, animate in, animate out. Oh, now you want a voiceover. Okay, whether I AI generate it or whether I record it, there's some work to do there to then time it and all this kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's nice just to have it
Summarizing
all in one
visual
place.
pre-learning and thumbnails is a given. Yeah, Testing Goya's free audio plugin for cleanup audio, perfect for video recording in non-optimal office spaces. I'd have to try that out. I could definitely use some better audio editors and audio cleanup tools.
Nice.
I do not know of a good one outside of like needing to know like really good audio editing.
This is it. I mean, audio editing is one of those things where like I looked at like the AR Adobe podcast AI. That audio
Yeah.
cleanup tool is like if you're gonna just use an automated
Mm.
tool, it's fine. It's cool that this one that Morgan's talking about is a VST though, because you can then actually get that like just linked into your like mic chain. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So you could even use it for live streams. That's awesome.
That's pretty cool. That's
Huh.
really cool.
Yeah, that's that. See, that is the kind of tool that I could totally see becoming very popular because the average person, I think, like, I've had a lot of conversations with people about using live streaming recently in businesses, especially. They don't want to spend the time to dedicate a space and
Mm.
soundproof it or come up with a chain that allows them to
Yeah, no.
correctly edit audio on the fly. So therefore they don't do lives. Something like that would be perfect just to put in the mic chain and just go, yep, just carry on. Just start it up and go, and it will manage the editing for you live. Perfect. Ooh,
I've
I
seen a
like that.
I know I've seen a few. I've seen some like AI audio editors also. I
Mm.
haven't found a good one, mostly because I did it because somebody who also skipped out on a contract with me asked me to look into AI editing tools because she didn't want to pay us long term, and turns out she didn't want to pay us short term either.
Typical.
Um, yeah, sadly, that is the story for me this year. But yeah, I looked at a couple audio editing tools also, and I'm like, I can see where this gets there. Some of it's rough. Some of it's rough. But again, at the end of the day, it's still person. I have a very distinct personality when I do things. Some people don't. Some people don't care. So at this point, I'm kind of an elitist jerk. Here I am.
No,
Let's talk about my beer choices, everybody. Um,
no, but I think but that's an interesting point, though, isn't it? Because there is those. It's a bit like let's use YouTube as an example. Arguably, some of the most popular and successful YouTubers do not have particularly high production standards.
no, it's a
Their
personality.
videos aren't necessarily well edited. People tune in because they like the person, the way they approach topics, their
Mhm.
outlook. They buy into that viewpoint and put value on it. And I don't think that's
Yeah.
going away. The same way that
No, God, no.
AI generated video hasn't taken over YouTube.
As somebody who's done desktop graphs now for 2.5 years, I can tell you with full confidence, and I've talked to other content creators as well, that there's a scale. There's an actual scale, which is like the time that you spent on a video and how much interaction it's going to be, and it does this. The longer you spend on a video making it look perfect, the absolute less your viewership is gonna be.
Yeah.
However, in the same vein, this is a marketing trick. This is a funny little marketing trick. Um, Part of the reason for that, as well as the same thing with like images and videos and whatnot, is because algorithms recognize quality and they see it as advertising. So a photo that is shared practically unedited on like an Instagram or something like that is going to have better reach than one that you actually tried to make look really professional and really nice, unless it's literally all you do. But if I'm working for a game and I'm like, hey, I made a graphic or I made a thing and I put it out there and it looks really nice, the algorithm picks up on elements of that image and says, this has some professional attachment to it. We're going to treat it as an ad, which means we're going to make it harder because we want your ass paying for it. It's just a funny element to that. And that makes me really curious about like anything social media related, on whether or not eventually there's going to be an algorithm that can detect little things in AI, similar how you can do the same thing with like deep fakes. I can detect deep faked things through XYZ reasons, and as a result of that, I can heighten or eliminate reach as a result. That could be real fun. That's a real interesting thought.
It'll certainly be interesting.
And the same would go for videos. The same would go for,
Yeah.
this is an AI. There's AI generated editing. There's AI generated visuals. There's AI things. What can the big YouTubes do to ensure that? Well, I see you're saving all that time, effort, energy, and money on making everything AI. How do I take that away from you, or how do I get some of that for myself by just saying, well, you can pay some of that money you saved to me if you want the reach. I just see it. I see that dick move happening.
Yeah, I'd like to think it wouldn't, but who knows? Who knows? So let's move
Again,
on to our.
small business puts out a really nice advertisement for things. They're going to end up having to pay for the reach, but just trick them. TikTok does it. Instagram does it. They all do it. But if you're a brand new account, you get incredibly heightened reach, and the chances are your first 3-4 posts are going to go viral, or viral-ish, viral with an asterisk, and then it dies down and tones down, and then they're like, hey, you want to pay for that thing that you got at the very beginning? It's a thing.
Well, let's dive into our next topic, because I know we can spend a long time on AI sometimes. It's which is always good fun to chat though. Captivate.
How ironic how much time we spend on AI when we're also talking about how much time it saves.
This is it. So Captivate, the launch no one noticed.
Not so captivating.
No, so first of all, I did say there was going to be a Captivate video of like first reactions. To be honest, I realised that video was kind of useless, because first reaction videos just kind of are. So instead, I've taken the view that I've used it now, a couple of jobs, a couple of courses built, played around with it a little bit, got angry with it,
You actually
figured
got
stuff
hired
out.
to use that Captivate?
There's
Damn you.
loads of work from people. Don't dictate the tool you use. Again, classic example of charge for value, not for not for specifics. But key thing is to spend some time with it. So there's going to be a video coming probably middle of next month of my like overall views of the tool. So we'll kind of skip that for this conversation. But I did want to talk a little bit about what I think Adobe, broadly speaking, got right and wrong. And maybe we could talk a little bit about the product marketing side of it as well, because I think that's quite interesting.
That's a me thing. It could be you. I'm
Because
just
like
saying.
the number of people that do not know Captivate launched a new version is pretty surprising. And it's not, to be perfectly clear, in case there's anyone like that in the audience right now, that's not on you. Articulate literally put out more marketing when they do an update than Captivate did when they launched a whole new version of their tool. That's a problem.
I've done more marketing for my YouTube channel in this thread, or in this video, in this episode than they've done. It's dumb. I also kind of think I know why, but
because my initial thing was, oh, they must have no faith in their tool. They must know that this is a problem tool they've launched, blah, blah, blah. I've been using it, and it's different for sure.
Yeah.
But actually, it's solid. Like,
I
actually
really
quite good.
I like it.
Like, I was worried using it. My initial concern was, oh, God, they will have killed so much, like, just general functionality. But no, actually. Pretty much everything you want is there. Is it where you necessarily think it's going to be? No, it's a very different UI. It's going to take some getting used to. But if you were ever a user of XD, you're probably going to feel at home. If you wanted a storyline killer, yeah, you're going to be disappointed. That's not what they built. But equally, that's clearly not what they were trying to build. They offer what storyline.
This is a change management issue that they're going to have to work through. They need
exactly.
to change it.
And I feel like that, to be honest, is the one mistake here. The one big mistake, the one meaningful mistake, was not marketing the hell out of this, because it's not a storyline killer. It failed in that, but it destroys the value of Rise. Like, with
it's the Orville. I'm going to keep the Star Trek references. It's the Orville. Everybody expected Galaxy Quest. I'm like, no, this is just our take on this type of thing. Stop.
And this is exactly it. They needed that. They needed to set those expectations. It destroys Rise, and it takes on a lot of other kind of vertical scrolling authoring tools. Like, it's a viable alternative to Evolve. Very different, different alternative, but it's viable. It can take on Adapt if you don't want to deal with the technicalities of using Adapt, because I would argue now learning Captivate is a super quick process.
I mean, I think I said last time, it's like Wix. You're just basically building a web page. I look at the comments, and everyone's like, I put a graphic on the screen, I am so pissed that I can't just move it anywhere. Like, screw you. No, that's not what this is trying to do.
Yeah, and also, why do you...
slides?
Yeah, there's a reason, like, most professional designers design to grids. Like, there's a reason. It could be that you want to have that image over there. Okay, well, that's stupid, so we're not going to let you. And also, guess what? One tool doesn't do everything. My God. How crazy is that? Again, I think we're in a world where people have these totally insane expectations that one thing will solve every problem they have. Everyone's forever looking for the all-in-one, the one-stop shop, the this, the that, and the next thing. Every platform that claims that is lying. They are all bad at something. You cannot deliver the best of everything in a single tool. In the same way that if you walked into a mechanic and go, don't worry, I've got my trusty do-everything tool, and they pull out a fucking hammer. Like, that is not okay. And there is no tool you can put in that mechanic's hand that is okay for every job. And it's the same for us.
The movie as it is, that it just reminds me of the Armageddon. Like, this is how he's got a wrench. Like, this is how he fixes things in Russian space station. He just beats the crap out of something with a wrench. I'm like, it works. I'm like, awesome, we're there. I love it.
Yeah, no, that's a space station I would never set foot on. There's a hole in the hull. Don't worry.
Bad movie.
Hammer.
Terrible movie.
Yeah. Morgan, I agree. I like the combination of slides and vertical. Sorry, Joey, go on.
Yeah, I love the combination of slides and scrolling. I love the flexibility requires structure, or it can't be flexible. As weird as that sounds, like as almost contradictory as that sounds, like you need to have it, and that has it. And the nice thing about it is they built it with every complaint that I've always had about Rise, and that you and I have talked many times about the most annoying limitation of Rise is that every stupid Rise course looks the same. Every stupid one, because you can't do anything with it. You can't really make it look like your own. And Captivate, you can. That's cool. I'm a fan. But we were talking about like the marketing approach to it and the lack of it. The lack of it is a problem. Like that is a big dumb idiot mistake. And I'm wondering if a little bit of a part of that is because they weren't. You were asking for a big change, and you have to go in and you have to say, you don't get to just roll into this. So remember way back in the day, way back in the early stages, I made my cool little prediction that Captivate Prime and Captivate was going to rebrand because they were working on something crazy. And it needed to rebrand because Captivate Prime would eventually compete with it. Captivate Prime, in fact, rebranded. I kind of wish it didn't. I kind of wish it was the other way around. I think that's probably, from a marketing perspective, their biggest mistake. It should not have been Adobe Captivate. Because every time you have Adobe Captivate, I'm going to look at every other version of Adobe Captivate and connect the dots and be like, and this Captivate, there's no backwards compatibility is a joke. Don't even try. Stop. And a lot of people are pissed at that. It's like, this is just a new version, right? No, it's literally it really is an entire new product. I wish they did that. But for anybody who's curious about product marketing, because I've had it a couple times, there are five key things with product marketing. A little education. Actually, right. There's 4 basics of marketing in general: product, price, place, promotion. I think the product and the price are great. I think Captivate got those two. I'm so $34 a month, easy. Yay. Place and promotion, like where they advertise, which they didn't do at all, and then promotion, which is what they actually advertised when they did it. They didn't do squat for that, so they screwed those 2 things up. However, when you get into the product itself, there's 5. There's 5 key elements to any sort of product launch that you have to be able to, 1, create in product design, but 2, also demonstrate. There's functionality. What does it do? What does it actually do? Usability. How can somebody use it? Can somebody actually use the thing? Aesthetic. How's the thing look? Brand consistency. They screwed this one up pretty hard. How does the product look amidst the suite that is? And then the last is user experience. Is it actually good to use it? The actual feeling I get. Not to be confused with usability, which is, can I actually perform functions as a user? User experiences. Do I actually enjoy it? Those are the 5 key elements of any sort of product design and product marketing thing. I think they've got the functionality is fine. The user experience, they screwed up, even though it's great, but they didn't actually educate anybody that it's different. Brand consistency, they completely screwed up. There's no, slapping Adobe on it doesn't mean anything. But you're trying to stay consistent to Captivate, which it does none of that. Aesthetics fine, usability is fine. This is just, ironically, for an education tool, a lack of education. They just didn't educate. And that's also not to say, and this goes back to the very beginning where I don't think this was just a matter of they did it badly. It's very possible we want to put it down, it's very possible this is a soft launch. And we just don't know. Because we didn't exactly see them touting a beta.
Nope.
And to Morgan's point in here of like, no Firefly. Firefly's in beta. But it's also part of it's part of their creative suite.
This is
Captivate has never been like a part of the creative suite. Captivate is a very niche audience. I don't think you do a beta promotion or anything like that. I feel like this could very well be a soft launch. I feel like this is that first year of, man, this tool sucks, and everyone's going to get it out there. Everyone's going to get those out there, and they're going to figure out, they're going to do their analysis of what are the biggest things that people are complaining about, and from there they'll learn it's education, get people think differently. Like, what are the things we need 100% do? And then, like, come next year, come your ATDs and come your big conferences, you'll see, welcome to Captivate. Here's a whole, yes, the world changes. I see next year they actually come out swinging, and this year was intentionally kind of silent.
I think that's interesting because obviously we've got the Adobe Learning Conference in October, just before DevLearn. I wonder if that will be the switching moment.
I hope so. I would hope so. The thing's out there. Especially because
it.
they've already announced they've dropped, they dropped perpetual license, but I think they also were talking like, we're not going to be touching the other Captivate. I feel like they said that recently.
Yeah, so like the other Captivate is still perfectly workable. It's included in your license, which is the fun thing. So they, a bit like Lightroom and Lightroom Classic exist, we now have Captivate and Captivate Classic.
Like Photoshop Elements. Remember that stupid thing?
Well, yeah, that was just. I never got Photoshop Elements. It was like, use Lightroom or use Photoshop. You don't need an in-between product. Yeah. Like, it's just ridiculous. So yeah, but the fact that they've got that, and that's a major standalone event right before arguably one of the biggest e-learning development events on the planet in DevLearn, both in Vegas within about a week of each other, I think that is their opportunity to kind of do the right. We've had, 3 months by that point, 4 months even, of this being out with just anyone who wants it. All our existing Captivate users and some new Captivate users, maybe, who knows, reviews have gone out. Some people have talked about it, but it's not caught on as such. That's their opportunity to do something.
In that 4 months, it's also possible you'll start seeing legitimate use cases, which is something they might not have been able to have outside of doing a deal with a company. But because the lift would be too big, they can't use a big company. Like, I can't go to Microsoft and be like, hey, we'd love to uproot everything you're ever doing for learning.
That's it.
There's just no time for that. So maybe in that 4 months also you're seeing a couple like small business use cases. You'll see a couple of those things. Chances are, because I remember doing this with Epsilon, some of those offerings, you work with a company and you say, we are willing to give you an extensive enterprise discount in exchange for you kind of helping us work through what this tool looks like. And it's to the tune of like 50 to 75% for like the first 2 years. It's a meaty thing, but they become kind of your test of, can we actually apply what businesses need from us into this? I wouldn't be surprised if October did that and you start seeing a couple like small business use cases of here's what they were actually able to do. And they actually existed. It's not us just imagining a world that was perfect. But they also kind of needed to get out the door. I wouldn't be surprised if part of this also was a lot of pressure, because you and I have talked about the laughing stock that was Project Charm for a year and change, and the up and down, and then is it a thing or is it not a thing? And we were all expecting a beta email, and then nobody got a beta email, and then in April we all got a beta email, and so there's probably a little bit of pressure.
None of us got on the beta, and then
none of us got on the beta.
Yeah.
So kind of that, that overpromise, gloriously underdeliverable, underdeliver. Yeah. Probably also is like, you were going to put something out there in the world. Do it. Just go. Just go. But no, I think October's going to be interesting. If October's not at the Adobe Learning Conference,
this is it. If they let that opportunity go, they kind of deserve for no one to be talking about it.
Who's gonna have confidence in the product if the thing's been out for 4 months? They don't even show it off in a this is our moment space.
Yeah. I think so. Like, fair enough, they may have been nervous of competition, but there is none at the Adobe conference, so they may as well hammer it there, going into DevLearn, going into the end of year learning technology season, or the little end of year conferences, and then it's also got buzz around it when you hit the start of year conferences in like February, March, April, and probably most importantly, going in towards April, which is buying season. For most organizations, if they're going to change authoring tools, that's where the budget's coming from, is those decisions taken in the run-up to April. So I think if they haven't seriously made a dent in the education around the tool that's needed by the end of the calendar year, then 2024 is not going to see a lot of uptake for them.
I think there's another question, and I'm trying to figure out like how how do you do this? We'll just pretend I've been using Captivate for 10 years because it's been about that long since they've done a decent update. I've got 10 years worth of tools. I got 10 years worth of training. I got 10 years worth of courses. And I've learned that Captivate's no longer going to be supported, but it's a perpetual license. So all that means is it's not going to get updated. And just like Flash didn't mean anything after a while, that thing lingered for like 6-7 years. How do you get people to switch over to new stuff? Especially knowing that there is no upload your Captivate and we will turn it into the new Captivate. That is just not a thing. And if it is, then it's going to be bad. It's going to be some of the AI tools that I've used.
I think that's why they bundle Captivate Classic with it. So you're not losing any of your old stuff because you've still got Captivate Classic that can open all those old files. Because they're not ditching that. It's a thing. It's part of the product offering. Yeah. So you're not going to lose any of your old stuff. You can still go in and update it all absolutely fine. You're just not going to get new features launched to you. Which, to be honest, Captivate has never really been an audience that chases new features. You know,
if you haven't learned by now, guys.
This is it.
But also, I think that also kind of helps solidify my point. You put the two side by side. Effectively, you're getting two tools for the price of one.
Exactly.
It's perfect 100% sense. But this is a time of just like, you guys tell us what's wrong. We'll come out swinging later.
And I think they will, and I really hope it's October because we could do with more. Morgan saying he hopes they want to talk to Swedish public offices to have marketing examples for discounts. Yep, I think everyone feels that way.
The thing I still do want to see in October is like, how do you get people to make the switch knowing I've been doing this for 10 years and you're telling me this tool isn't going to convert it? There's two ways to go about it, which is one, like, here's how we make it easy and I'm sorry you're going to have to deal with that, or eventually it becomes the threat. You're just not going to be able to use it. I don't think they're going to do the threat thing, but...
No, and there's no need to convert it, because it still works. You just do it in Captivate Classic. It's not... They're not losing anything. There is no danger. Because there isn't one authoring tool out there that converts someone else's stuff into their tool.
Right. Yeah, and again, this is the crappy expectation that exists for the new Captivate and stuff like that. But that's going to go into, you put all of this effort and energy into creating this new tool, and you're telling me that we don't have any actual avenue to get people using the old stuff to do the new stuff. That's bad. That's bad product design and bad marketing.
I disagree.
That is a bad customer life cycle.
Well, maybe from a customer life cycle perspective, but I actually think it's fantastic product design. The biggest problem with Storyline is they insisted on backwards compatibility. Great news, you can take your Storyline 1 files and upload it to the new Storyline and it'll work straight away. That's why the new Storyline is still so shit. Because they've had to hold on to all this old stuff to convert these old courses. Agree. That's why Storyline is still a 32-bit... Sorry, go on.
This is still educating people that that's a positive and not a negative.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, that's right out what Storyline is. Storyline's a negative that they treated as a positive. And we're all paying for that now.
This is it. And this is why it's like, why is it so difficult to make a 64-bit version of Storyline? Because they're still trying to support files that were made like a decade ago. So they can't just cut ties.
Actually, you're making me think in the opposite direction. Maybe they don't try. Maybe they don't try to switch anybody.
This is it. I genuinely don't think that's a good... I don't think it's good news.
Screw it. Start new. Anybody who's got to build new, or anybody who is... And at that point, you can come after Storyline. And you can come after them pretty hard, because at that point, you do get to play the angle of cost. And you get to play like the small business angle.
Yeah. This is it. No, I don't like the Apple way. Just to clarify, Apple is guilty of exactly this. Apple focuses massively on the longevity of every release, rather than thinking about real progress. But that is a different thing. So, for it as a standalone release, if you're changing authoring tools, you're changing authoring tools. There's no intercompatibility. That's an issue in of itself, and there should be, in my opinion. I should be able to take a SCORM file from any authoring tool, upload it to another authoring tool, and it should pull out the components and auto do everything, blah, blah, blah. However, that's not currently realistic. And there's no incentive for any of them to do that, because then it makes switching tools easier, and they all want to make it harder while insisting switching to their tool is easy. Yeah.
10 years of marketing. 10 years of marketing
gripe.
fast. That's not a thing, everybody.
Big wow there. But I think the big thing for me is that there's a line. You want to make moving from one version to the other relatively easy. You want to keep it low friction, blah, 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 right up until the moment that becomes a blocker for genuine progress. Right? This is the same argument that says USB is the way forwards. It doesn't mean that, for instance, if everyone, picking on Apple here once again, saying, okay, USB-C chargers and everything, please. That doesn't mean that will never change. That doesn't block progress. It makes movement between devices better. It allows us to be more efficient, etc., etc., etc. But it doesn't block innovation in any way, no matter what Apple might say. USB-C is not an innovation blocker. However,
sorry, Thunderbolt.
Exactly. Theirs was Lightning. But yeah,
Lightning. However,
because Intel had already taken Thunderbolt, but Apple's so original, they went for Lightning. It's always the example I use when they talk about Apple's so original, they're so out of the box. What, like Lightning, which totally isn't Thunderbolt?
An AI would call it Zappy Line.
This is it. Or what was it? What were they calling their they refused to use the term VR for their VR headset. I can't remember what they're calling it instead. But they were using every term except VR, which is what it is.
When I worked for Epsilon, we had a tool called Unite, and it eventually evolved into a CDP, a customer data platform. But because they've been working on it for ages, they wanted to try to correct the mistake of they were behind the times by getting ahead of the times. So they did everything in their power to not brand Unite as a CDP and try to come up with any other BS. Just like, no, it's not a CDP. It's an elevated something or other.
I love it.
No. This is like the same people who are like, yeah, we made a vegan cheese. Like, no, you made a vegan goop. It tastes like cheese. It's not cheese. Don't latch on to something you're trying to get away from. Just stop.
Yeah. But yeah, and that's always my balance, is that if you break interoperability to make progress, I've got no problem with that. If you break interoperability to extract additional money from people, I've got a problem.
So let's ask this. Let me ask you. You played enough with Captivate. I have as well. Do you think that there's anything in Captivate that represents a blocker to progress? Do you think, because right now Captivate is really just a glorified mishmash of a bunch of other tools, is the door open for Captivate to do something truly innovative and useful in the industry that it hasn't seen before?
No, but I don't think there's much space for an authoring tool to do that.
Okay.
I think it allows us to be more efficient. I think it's more. Yeah, I think it's more efficient. I think it's absolutely fine for the space in which it operates. Authoring tools are never going to be what allows us as L&D professionals to innovate, in the same way that a screwdriver isn't what allowed Ford to innovate. Innovation has to come from people. It can never be driven by tools.
Right. Or AI, everybody. Just ignore the first hour of this. I'm kidding. I'm giving you crap.
That's an interesting question. Probably not one that I have any concept of what the answer is. I don't know if AI can innovate. Maybe it can.
It's called Terminator, and Matrix 1, but not 2 and 3, because those are two.
This is it. I guess you'd have that would take a lot of thinking and some very smart people, I think, to answer. But I suspect it might be capable of it, but probably not yet. And all that kind of stuff. But no, I think. Yeah.
At the end of the day, no matter any innovation is simply going to be subject to subjectivity and opinion. You're getting into equality. Yeah. Innovation is nothing more than a change in quality and a change in appreciation of quality. Quality is always subjective.
This is it. A lot of most of us now would think that Van Gogh was an incredibly innovative painter. At the time, he was a nutcase that everyone hated. Sometimes innovation is not appreciated at the time.
Still one of the best Doctor Who episodes. Shut up.
Oh, absolutely. Even just clips of it are fantastic. So, yeah, I mean, I'm of the opinion that people will always be the ones driving, or people or something external to the tool will always be the thing driving innovation. Innovation is driven by kind of that meeting point of need and lack of current ability. And so a tool can't create that circumstance. You know, you take the tool with you into the circumstance, and arguably it's part of finding the solution, but it's not actually part of innovation.
Right.
Oh, here we go. Morgan, it's fast, easy, responsive, accessible, slides and scrolls, some interactions. That's 90% of all scrums. Yeah, this is it. I think as long as we're talking about a rapid authoring tool, we shouldn't really be looking at, is it innovative? We should be looking at, does it improve our workflows? Because it's not like we're demanding anything that exciting and new. Like, when was the last time you heard an LED professional really say something that was totally different to what everyone else or what someone else in the space was talking about? It's been a hell of a while for me. Like, there are people doing interesting things that are newer or bringing back things that were kind of dropped a long time ago and now are relevant again, but genuinely new stuff, it's been a heck of a while. Like, someone was telling me the other day about how podcasts are this really new to the world of learning. So they're going, do you want me to pull out the tapes from the 90s about how to learn French? And then do you want to tell me podcasting is new for... No, it's just not true. We recycle
and at that point, you're not exactly talking about the podcast. You're talking about its distribution model.
Exactly. This is
that's
it.
What's changed. That's the whole thing with innovation. I think you would agree with this, that innovation is something that is often applied to something so big that is impossible, but the real innovation, the real changes happen in the small little bits. How is it created? What is the innovation in the creation, innovation in the process, innovation in the screwdriver, or as the saying goes, you build a better mousetrap. You didn't innovate the concept of mousetraps or traps in general. You built a better one, but it's one little function of it that was maybe like your actual change and actual oh my gosh thing.
Yeah, I would argue that this is a really good piece of iteration. They looked at what they had, identified that it's really fallen behind, looked at what was out there in the space and said, okay, let's take a couple of key features that we know people want and let's do iterations on all of them. Now, that's fine, and actually has created quite a good little tool. What we need to see is more iteration. There need to be regular updates. Like, if anything, Sorry, go on.
No, go for it.
I was to say, I would expect on a new tool like this, an update a month at minimum, and it should be a substantive update.
I'll be looking.
And this is it, but this is where I would argue that Adobe's pretty good with, say, its Creative Cloud stuff. Like, pretty much every time I turn my PC on, something in Creative Cloud wants to do an update. Not been the case for Captivate. And my concern is that they are going to miss that point, is that the current marketplace does not allow for you to launch a tool and then leave it for 6 months to launch a small update. The expectation now, even Storyline has been pushing updates, like, pretty regularly. The expectation is for a lot of updates and for rapid turnaround on improvements and development of new features. And it's not always about huge Goliath features. It's about make my life just a little bit easier. Save me 5 seconds every time I want to add a voiceover. Save me some time by making video cutting a little bit more intuitive. All these things. And for a company like Adobe, I think the expectation is higher because they have pedigree in the media space. You know?
Yeah,
they
look at Camtasia.
Yeah, there you go. Prime example.
There's a difference between a holy crap noteworthy press update and a simple quality of life one.
Yes.
Camtasia put Camtasia in one of their last updates. They put the ability for you to preview at a different speed than 1x. I can preview in the tool at two times speed. Oh my god, that's just a little boop. It's a low quality of life feature. It's amazing. I love it so much.
And the flip side is that with Captivate, I'm willing to go, hey, that's a good ad. The fact that it isn't in Adobe is why the hell is it not here? Because it's here in all your other video related tools. What the hell?
I think that's the thing I really like about Captivate, similar to Evolve, is that Evolve is built around a system that has so many different pieces that work in the same framework, which is kind of like that web-built kind of thing, that anything that they create, I get to look at as, anything that I create is going to be something that can either be familiar, but more importantly, things that they create aren't bottlenecked in like their own platform, this is the original Captivate problem and the storyline problem. Everything they built is bottlenecked in their own thing. And so now, the sky's the limit all of a sudden for them. I'm excited to see what they do.
Yeah, I just hopefully they don't blow it. We could do with another strong player. That's the biggest thing. We really could do with and it's not about taking on or taking down or being the storyline killer or none of that actually matters. Competition in the space makes everyone better. It's the same in every industry, and it's no shock. Yeah, this is it. You need people to compete against each other. Even this past couple of years, the changes that Storyline have suddenly started to make. Like, they could have made them years ago, but why would they have bothered?
Right.
So we've almost got to, I would argue, if we're Storyline users and we're thinking, I wish Storyline would improve their tool, we should all just buy Captivate. Because I guarantee you that as quickly as Captivate sales go up, as quickly as people start talking about Captivate, Articulate will start pushing new and exciting features and fixing bugs and making the authoring experience better. Because they
Articulate
know...
only needs to do Articulate only needs to do two things, and they would capture so much market share, and you don't have to touch the software. Number one, get yourself on Apple. Well, you do have to touch the software to get on Apple. Get on Apple. That's one. Two, fix your pricing and make it more realistic for freelancers.
See, the only thing I disagree with is the freelancer point. Freelancers like to think they're part of a big community, but in the view of big business, you're not. There's not enough money.
So you're going to charge them like they're part of a big community?
No, I just don't care about their business at all. In the same way that Adobe says, yeah, the Creative Cloud's £50 a month. Oh, but I don't care, it's £50 a month. You want a discount? Cool, buy 50 licenses. Why should I lower the cost of my thing because you're a freelancer? Like,
it's not a matter of lowering the cost.
If that's your business model, if that's your business model, then fine. But a perfectly good business model is to say, like a Lucidat does, we're really expensive. So if you're a freelancer, you don't get to use this tool. That's it. That's the... There's,
No, that's a whole episode. Because I'd fight on that one. The reason Articulate gets to do that is because there actually has not been any decent competition in a while. That's not a result of the quality of their tool. That's a result of them not actually having anybody.
It's not about tool quality. It's about that's what we're charging. That's equality has no relation to what a company chooses to charge. Sadly,
they've got all right. So Articulate has gotten to capture a certain element of market share with a lot of businesses because they just haven't had any decent competition. They haven't. Now they've got decent competition. Doesn't mean I think that their pricing model is great in the slightest. No. They haven't had any competition. That's basically how a monopoly works. You've said, hey, every part that makes a monopoly suck is fine. Now they got competition, but now you have an access problem. I can access these guys over here for cheaper.
But does it matter? That's the point. Like, the freelance community is not the community Adobe wants either. Like, you add up all the individual L&D freelancers. Let's say they all buy Adobe Captivate. It's still not as valuable to them as selling into some big businesses.
That's a longer shot. I can't agree with that longer term. Looking at how I would market against it, I can't agree with that. That's taking a snapshot of the business as it stands and saying that always gets to be the status quo, and anything that's going X speed is going to stay X speed, and anything going Y speed is Y speed.
Oh yeah, no. It's no business model lasts forever. You have to adapt. You have to adjust. But there are plenty of businesses that only sell to other businesses, and they do absolutely fine. And that I don't think there are enough freelancers, and plus, plenty of freelancers stump up the money. That's the reality. It's a bit like
the money.
Sorry.
I got a whole bunch of L&D professionals who cannot make a portfolio in the one tool everybody who's interviewing can do because there's no actual access for them outside of just faking your email over and over until you get something decent.
But we say that, and then every portfolio I see is absolutely stuffed to storyline stuff. Like it's, I think there's a little bit of I don't know. There are plenty of other freelance industries that get absolutely screwed for the price of their tools and don't moan about it constantly. L&D's got a real bee in its bonnet about the cost of its tools, and its tools just aren't that expensive. Like, they're not. Like, I know, like, if you look at was it 1,200 quid a year? Now, that is, if you just say 1,200 quid, that's a good lump of money. Then you say, okay, so a day rating freelance instructional designer in the UK is on £250 to £300 a day. Okay, so I can pay for it in a week of work. Clearly, it's not a very expensive tool. That's, you know.
All right, UK doesn't pay crap. There's no way you can tell me that 1 week of work is just something I could just like throw away.
No, that's not quite what I meant. Income to cost of tool is how we tend to measure these things. So if I can cover the cost of an annual subscription to the tool I need to do my job in 1 week of income, granted I can't do 1 week of income and then give the whole thing away, you're right, but if in a month I can earn enough to make that the absorption of that tool cost in a month, there are 12 months in the year, that gives me 11 other months of the year of income. Let's say I take a month off, 10 months of the year of income where I'm not having to absorb the cost of that tool. It's not reasonable to say that tool is too expensive.
Okay, fine. We'll do it this way. I'll give in on that, even though I don't entirely agree. But also, it's proven by the fact that the freelancer version of Storyline is $300 less than any other version. But there needs to be a monthly. There needs to be a monthly option, not just an annual thing. If I don't have a job yet, but I need Storyline in order to do a freelance, I don't exactly have $1,100 to burn for the thing. Okay. And at that point, the only way that I can do it is to fake the free trial and do the freelancey thing, and that's just not great. Same if I only got like a 3-month or a 6-month contract. If I got a 3-month contract and I need my own Storyline, I'm much happier to spend $300 on it than spend $1,100. So make the stickers. Okay. So cut this. So fine. I'll give you the cost of it and the value. But do something about the sticker shock. Innovate in how I can actually buy the thing, even if you're not actually changing the cost. Give me that. You gotta give me that one. Give me a little bit of compromise there.
I mean, you could. That they could. Again, I think it just comes down to is the additional managing of that worth it to them in terms of cost versus income? And it might be.
They have a whole section for freelancers, so I can only assume yes.
Yes, but equally they have it and don't offer monthly. Because they don't need to. And maybe in the future they will need to. Maybe they will if they in the future.
Then make it $2,000. Make it $2,000. Make it $3,000. Doesn't matter. There's nobody who's fighting against us, and 80% of the industry uses Storyline. So screw it. $2,000. We win. We took the market share.
Yeah, but then you start to cannibalize your business customers, and they're the ones you care about.
No, once you hit a certain, once you hit your 50 licenses, 60, whatever, you'll cut it down after that. There's your savings.
Yeah, I mean,
I think that Articulate is leaving the door open to lose market share in a way that they don't realize. I cannot agree with the argument that since they don't need to try for another audience, they're fine. I strongly disagree with that.
That's not a they're fine forever argument. It is right now, it would be premature to be thinking about, oh, we're going to lose. Articulate's not losing anything. In the same way
they're not losing anything right now.
Yeah, this is it. When it like innovation wise, the difficulty, I think this is where the tricky thing comes in. Completely changing ecosystems from all your existing content to another one is a huge cost to a business.
Yeah.
Like
they don't
catastrophically
have a
huge. this is it. And even then, cool. So we've got 300 things authored in Storyline that we now have to re-author into this new tool. That's what you're telling me. Holy crap!
Yeah.
That's a huge cost. Like, you would have to give me Captivate free for 10 years to cover that cost.
If only these guys launched during COVID, they would have been great, because everybody had to convert their non-stuff to virtual anyway.
That was the single biggest, I think, the single biggest missed opportunity.
I'd give you that. Actually, I'd give you that more than the name, in my opinion. If they launched during COVID, I think they would have been golden.
Yeah, that's mad. But yeah, no, it's no. I've had a recent change of heart about Storyline and billing, to be honest. Largely because I had a conversation with a carpenter, and he said, "Cool. So to start my business, I had to buy nearly 25 grand's worth of tools." And I sort of went, "Huh, crap." It's okay. It's one of those things where you're like, huh. And like, granted, he does a very specialist job. He does like restoration of old like furniture and all this kind of stuff. So it's a lot of very specialist stuff. And he's like, it's a one-off purchase. He said, but I have all my expendables. So I go through a couple of grand's worth of bits and adjustments and brackets a year. I go through all this stuff. So it's like, actually, in comparison to other jobs that have to buy their tools in freelance form, 1,200 quid a year is not a lot. And I get the argument for it would be nice to pay it monthly, but that's true for many, many things that we don't get to do that with.
That's not a benefit to it. It's just
that's a benefit, but businesses, in business, it's always a balance between what benefits us and what benefits the customer. It benefits them to have annual subscriptions, easier to maintain, locked-in customer base, more manageable cash flow, fewer smaller transactions to deal with and pay transaction fees on, which at scale adds up real freaking quick. So my concern is, if they were to say, for instance, yes, we're going to do it monthly, but we're going to charge you more. I think people, and I know this is only a think, because I don't know, I think people would be outraged. Why am I being charged more just because I pay monthly? Well, because your subscription costs more, that's why.
I mean, that's a deal of, I mean, that's been normal for a while. It's like, hey, buy in bulk, get things cheaper.
And yet I consistently hear people.
The option is usually I can buy in bulk or I can get things cheaper. Nobody would be thrilled if the only grocery store that we had was Costco.
No, this is it.
That's a problem.
Yeah,
especially as in the industry in the industry of L&D as opposed to carpentry. Like, if I'm getting the carpentry stuff, I'm putting that kind of investment. I'm making an actual investment. I don't want to have to make the same kind of massive long-term investment for a project that only lasts 3 months. And then just hope. And then, of course, I get that. Like, that also suggests if I do it once, I'm going to be doing it for a heck of a lot longer.
We may have lost Joey. Hang on. Oh, you're back. Sorry, we lost you for a moment.
It's always been hit for its cost. It's been regularly joked around at how easy it is to finagle and maneuver around the whole free trial system. Yeah. But the ability to onboard anybody with it, the ability to just... There's a reason... Like, I can't get over the fact that there's a reason that Storyline has the rep that it does, outside of just being kind of an outdated, silly, sad little tool. I can't get over that. I feel that there's an opportunity to think about accessibility a little bit, even if they don't need to. I feel like there's an opportunity to. If anything, it captures maybe a market that they couldn't have had, as opposed to prevents losing one.
Yeah, I think that again, it's just any expansion to new areas comes with cons, right? Do they want to serve that, or do they want to serve a larger individual user base audience? Because that's a serious business question. Because the bigger your single user audience is, the more support agents you're going to need, and boy will you need them, because there's no IT department supporting these people. So their first call is you. Freelancers are also, in my humble opinion, having been one for a long time, very self-important when it comes to calling support. They have unrealistic expectations. No one got back to me. It's been over 24 hours. It's like, yeah, shock. Like, you raised an IT ticket. How quickly do you think they were going to be on that? Like, there's also, I think, it's not quite as cut and dry as more audience is better, right? It's because some audience is more expensive than other audience. And I would argue the freelance audience is a lot more expensive in the long run than the large business audience.
Yeah. I'll give you that as a snapshot of right now.
Yes.
I don't think that lasts.
No, if Captivate were to come in and be a genuinely phenomenal offer, the first thing you would need to see is businesses would need to shift. Because whether we like to admit it or not, in a lot of freelancer scenarios, the business dictates the tool. They say, we use Storyline, so you're using Storyline. If businesses start switching, then there will be an issue. In decent numbers anyway, there'll be an issue for Storyline that they have to address. And maybe this will be one way they address it. But yeah, right now, I don't see it. Don't see a need, see why they would.
All it takes is one or two. The door is wide open. It's not going to matter for 2 years, but the door is wide open. Articulate has left it open. It's a matter of if Adobe wants to jump in.
Yes, yeah. I guess it's just that thing of whether or not they intended to leave it open or not, isn't it? That's that's going to be the big question. Is do they have a plan?
All it takes is Adobe to be able to say, hey, we have a partnership with some big company or one or two big companies. And we've redone and redid their entire training program. And you bet your ass if they're smart, which right now they have not shown that as far as Captivate's concerned. But if they're smart, they're going to make the deal with some sort of massive company so they can get that reputation. And then they're going to put that focus on here's how easy it is to create. They're going to do that as quick as humanly possible. Because that needs to be what they do. They need to go the efficiency angle because everyone's going to be complaining about efficiency. Why would I transfer 300 courses I already made into this thing? That doesn't work if you can't push efficiency.
Yeah, that's going to be there. Yeah,
I'll give you in this moment. Articulate doesn't need to do squat and doesn't need to worry. They've also been a topic of conversation and a little bit of a frustration point for the exact reasons that they don't need to change.
Oh yeah,
have 100%. To acknowledge that.
Oh, definitely. I think the trouble you've got is that even now, I like the new Captivate. If I was working in a business, would I even for a moment consider ditching an established internal ecosystem to move to it? No. It wouldn't even be a conversation. No. So they've got a mountain to climb, but if they climb it, then Articulate will need to respond real freaking quick. The one with easy XAPI will win. I disagree on that. Like the 6 businesses on the planet that have actually implemented XAPI in a meaningful way might care, but
yeah, a strong majority of the L&D community are going to look at that and be like, "What's Zappy?" Like, no, it's XAPI. You know what? Never mind.
Yeah, it's for better. Also, I strongly suspect that by the time XAPI is easy enough to implement, we'll have moved on. I think XAPI, if XAPI was going to become the thing to replace SCORM, it would have happened 4 or 5 years ago when it was being shouted about and exciting and new. Now it's just festered and sat there as a bit of a kind of, it's a clever bit of technology, it's great, but there are actually better versions of it used elsewhere in the tech world that we should really just get over ourselves and adopt. It's kind of it's weird to me that parsing data back and forth is not just a REST API. Why do we have to have something L&D specific?
I agree.
Every website on the planet runs in one way, and then because we're doing e-learning, not technically a website, we have to have our own interoperability standards and reporting systems. Why?
It's the storyline of APIs. Why are you in our program?
It made sense with SCORM because there was nothing. But now I can no longer see the upside of XAPI. And I so wanted it to win. I wanted it to be the death knell for SCORM. I wrote that article, The Death of SCORM. I was wrong.
I remember.
Uptake has just been nothing. Anyway, sorry, we spent a long time on that and went round the houses a little bit, didn't we? So let's skip on.
3 more? I gotta go get a bottle, so...
Yeah, the main topic was supposed to be, is L&D out of its depth? But we've gone for like 2 hours, so we will not be covering tonight's main topic in this show.
I totally forgot that was the main topic. I honestly thought those were the only 3 topics. I totally spaced this L&D out of its depth.
That's fine.
In a weird way, we sort of covered it. We just didn't put it in the bow of is L&D out of its depth.
That's it. The whole thing was there. Just
maybe they kind of are. There you go.
Absolutely, we'll go with that. Why not? So, just a few real quick shout outs for the end of the show then. There are some phenomenal events coming up in the next couple of weeks and months. First one I have to shout out is Generation Next. Now this is a collaboration between several people. Helen Marshall, who's the CLO at Thrive. Also Lauren Waldman, the learning pirate that we recently did a fantastic Ideas podcast episode with here on the channel. She's just awesome. Also Fiona Barron, Director of Gender, Equity and Inclusive Learning, and Ella Vies, Head of Academy and Learning Programs. So 4 fantastic women in the L&D space coming together, basically asking for who's taking responsibility for effective learning in our organisations. It is a 1 evening only event, 7:30 till 9:30 p.m. on the 13th September in London. I'm going to drop a link to the event into the chat now. So if you are in the area and you are wanting an event to go to, check it out and inquire about tickets. Next up on the shout out list on the 10th and 11th of October in Birmingham, we have World of Learning. As always, fantastic conference and exhibition. I'll be there at the exhibition for the Learning Network. We're also putting on 7 fantastic talks as part of Learning Design Live, our micro conference within World of Learning. One of the speakers again actually is Lauren Waldman. She's coming over while she's in the UK. She's swinging by Birmingham to do a talk for us, which is going to be awesome. We've also got talks about immersive technologies and accessibility and tons of other things. You can check out all the details on the World of Learning website. We also have a Learning Network event, Connect, in November in London. 1-day conference, really fantastic event, amazing speakers. This one's super important to me, so if you're around and want to join us, please do come and join. I'm dropping a link to that in the chat now. And finally, you may have noticed some changes right here on the channel itself. A little bit of a rebrand, a little bit of a tech change in the background using vMix today. We've also, in case, because I can see some of you would have been on that, I've closed down the Patreon. So that no longer exists at all. Instead, we now have channel memberships here directly on YouTube, really just moving everything to one platform to make everyone's lives a little bit easier. It's also a lot cheaper, so all the brackets are now cheaper to join. As well as, you may notice below today's streams, some charming new merch. We've got mugs and coasters and a sticker sheet. It's all very exciting. So you can get the stickers and put me and Joey's face on whatever you want to put them on, because that's not creepy and weird.
I had to learn more.
So you can now go directly to idtstore.co.uk, where you can find anything that we've got on there. There will also be some non-kind of merchy based items going up on there soon, including some sort of resources, some free, some paid, but also things like anything that gets written in the future. Lots going to be going on that site. So lots going on moving forward. As always, anything made through memberships or sales on the site or super chats during live streams will all go towards running the IDTX conference, which will happen again next year. We're just sorting out the details at the moment. We'll be announcing it very soon. There is also the emerging potential of maybe in 2024, maybe in 2025, running, as well as the virtual conference, a face-to-face IDTX conference event. So that's super exciting. It's kind of in the initial stages of conversations with different people. If we do, obviously, you will all collectively be the first to know. That's all my shout-outs. Just checking, Joey, anything from you?
I'm a boring human with the kiddo. I've been a little out of the loop with some stuff, so that's it.
That's
I
cool.
don't have too many shout outs. Shout out to her for being asleep the whole time.
That's impressive.
Thanks.
Like, I think we're all pretty thankful.
Yeah, but that's going to change real soon.
Well, I shall let you deal with that, my good sir. Thank you, everyone, for joining us in our first live stream back after such a long gap. We will be back next month, or rather, we will do our best to be back next month. Joey can take none of the blame. I keep forgetting and announcing it last minute. Last time, he even agreed to do it last minute, and then I cancelled it because I had something come up I'd forgot that I'd booked. So this is far more on me than him. Have an amazing month of September, everyone, and we shall see you later on.
Cheers, everybody.
There's only one place for the breaking news in the world of instructional design. The ID Update with Tom and Joe. All the news you never knew you never needed. Only on IDT.